What's up, everyone? So, I got a pretty wacky story to tell. This happened a few years ago. So, my English teacher was gone a couple days shortly after spring break, and since there were no subs available, another teacher in the building had to volunteer for periods 3 and 4, which coincidentally were the two periods I had that teacher. All this probably sounds normal, but the only thing is, the teacher that was subbing for us was just the worst teacher. This isn't even me trying to be dramatic, she's just genuinely mean for literally no reason. She developed a reputation around the school for being the most mean teacher in the building, and I've had that teacher in the past, so I already knew how things work with her. But the second I arrived in that class, I knew things were going to be different. And well, I mean, to be fair, me and my friends did arrive late to that class since all three of us usually walk together for third hour. And it's not often that we arrive late to our classes since we usually keep track of time, but every once in a while we just forget. So obviously, I didn't think much of it since this was the first tardy I've gotten in like 4 months. But for whatever reason, this was more than enough to make her mad. And the thing is, she never really liked me. No matter how respectful I was, she always acted passively aggressive towards me in particular. And again, this is not me trying to be dramatic. She genuinely has a problem with me. But the thing is, my other two friends arrived tardy as well, but she didn't bother to point them out. She didn't get them in trouble. But she did lecture me about it. But this only lasted 10 seconds, so it wasn't that bad. But then she gave us instructions to do the assignment that our teacher posted online. But the thing is, the assignment didn't work for literally anyone. So, since the teacher wouldn't let us have one free day, she decided to hand us prep state tests, which were these 12-page packets we had to do. So, usually I just do as the teacher said, but I thought it was kind of dumb because we were practicing for a test that wasn't in another month and a half. So, out of curiosity, I just asked, so, just wondering, why exactly are we practicing for a test that isn't till next month? Wouldn't it make more sense if we practice a little later? But she responded sarcastically, saying, yeah, but then again, you don't have a PhD in English, so you have no right to make a teacher's decision. So, obviously, that was a little uncalled for, but I sort of accepted it. But 3 minutes later, I asked another question. So, is this for a grade? And this was when she had enough. Now, I only asked two questions, and you wouldn't expect this to be too much of a problem. You'd probably just expect the teacher to give you a light warning, but not her. With just the two questions I asked, man, she decided to call my mom in front of everyone in the class, claiming I was disrupting the class, which isn't even true because I only asked two questions and literally no one but my friends paid attention. Everyone else just ignored it. But the thing is, she didn't even call my mom. She just pretended to dial her number in front of the class to try to shame me. And she just talked into the empty phone, acting as if there was someone on the other line. So, since this obviously didn't phase me whatsoever, the teacher decided to send me to the hallway to quote unquote think about what I've done. And since there's literally nothing for me to think about, all I did was ask two questions. But so I just walked out the hall for like 2 seconds and instantly came back because, like I said, there's literally nothing to think about. But luckily, she didn't notice me come back. But by this point, there was only 20 minutes of class that went by. So there was still another 30 minutes left. And I barely even touched my packet. And since she never answered my question on whether or not this was for a grade, I took it upon myself to ask her one more time if it was for a grade. And she instantly pointed out the fact that I already asked this question. So I responded with, well, yes, but you never answered. And she decided to say, yes, and I thought you would have taken a hint, but I guess you need me to point it out for you, which was just another level of mean, but I let it slide again. Now, this is a point where she decided to stand right next to me and monitor me closely. So, since my friends were sitting right by me, this obviously made them feel uncomfortable too. So, by this point, I realized there was nothing I could do, and since it was just a prep test, I assumed it wasn't worth any points. And I was kind of correct. It's not worth any points to my English grade overall, but to her it was apparently. And she couldn't fail me since she's not my teacher. However, she just decided to try to embarrass me in front of literally everyone in the class. So here's how it went down. She starts clowning on me because I got the lowest score. She started off by saying relatively harmless things like, "Oh, you got the lowest score out of anyone in the class," and "It wouldn't surprise me if you failed the state test." None of these affected me whatsoever, but I didn't respond since it's not really worth arguing the teacher for. It's just a prep test. But then she started to say some genuine messed up things like, you will turn out to be your parents' biggest disappointment, and you will never be anything in life. Which is just way too far, especially considering the fact that all I've done at this point was just ask a few questions and purposely fail a practice test. But luckily, my friends were there to back me up. But for whatever reason, she thought I bribed them into backing me up. But by this point, the bell rang and time was finished. But before we left, everyone was still in the class, so I decided to ask in front of her and in front of the entire class. Because by this point, everyone was paying attention to her and me. Everyone in the class put down their packets and they all just focused on us. So in front of everyone, I decided to ask, "Do you have a problem with me? Why do you hate me?" And she said, "Come in during recess, I'll tell you then." But I did not want to waste my time because I usually like talking to my friends during recess and lunch. So I decided that that would just be a waste of time, and quite frankly, I honestly don't care if she hates me. It's just something that I was curious about. So obviously there's more to that story, but I don't want this video to be too long. So if you enjoyed, then leave a like so I can make part 2. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Peace.